Alright folks, today I have something a little bit different for you. This is a game that I've been really looking forward to for the past, well, since it came out. And it's called Sweet Transit. If you know anything about me, you know that I love transit games and building networks that optimize efficiency and just kind of go through here. So we're going to run through the first two tutorials here, just kind of looking at the game and seeing how it runs on my computer. Now I'm running my computer in the game, and then I'm also running a screen recorder here. It is not this jumpy on my actual computer as it is here on the screen recording, and that's just something to just keep in mind. My screen recording is struggling a little bit. It walks you through the basic controls and all that stuff. But just as a background here, this is a game that I've looked at Steam for a little while, and I've joined their Discord. I saw that they posted on Twitter that they're having a closed beta. So I put my name in the hat, and I was one of 250 people selected for that area. So, cool. I get to try this thing out until the first week of May. So I have just about a week and a half or two to go with this thing, and I'm super pumped to see what all it has. Because again, love transportation games, love optimization games, and I'm hoping that this delivers both. It also seems like a little bit of a city builder, which seems super exciting, super fun. So we're going to go in and take a look at this. The interface overall seems pretty normal, nothing big deal. You have your trains that come in and leave the station, and yeah, you have all that. But more interestingly enough, when you get going here, it's not about just grabbing rail routes from what I can tell. You want to build cities and connect cities and kind of do different things with them. And also you have to make the cities more desirable, which you'll see here in a little bit. So let's go through and we'll zoom this up or speed it up and see what's going on. Now before we really dive into all the stuff, because I don't really run into any problems with the first round of tutorial here, let's just go over what my computer is. It has a Ryzen 5 2400G in it, which is not a super powerful or new processor. At the time it was decent, but it's nothing to kind of really go with now. Just exporting this video took far longer than what I'm used to with my Mac Mini M1. It also has 16 gigs of RAM, but you can see you can control trains, you can set the routes, you can do all kinds of stuff. It goes over naming the routes, setting them up, getting them all kind of ready to go here, and kind of getting them established. But taking a look at this thing again, the interface looks nice. There's lots of options, lots of things. They hide some of the stuff from you as the tutorial kind of goes on. Things kind of show itself, but overall, the idea here is really fun, and I really like how the trains just move around and do their thing. The visual style of this game kind of reminds me of Age of Empires 2, just with trains, and I'm totally on board with that. It's one of my favorite all-time games. This thing kind of just harkens back to that visual style, and I'm on board. Let's jump into tutorial number 2, which is village building. So it starts us in map view, which is basically just zoomed out, where you can see all your resources, what your main map looks like. Eventually what we're going to do here is we're going to build a warehouse. Now, it explains that a warehouse is important and it needs to be able to service all the other areas, but that's kind of it. So I don't really know what a warehouse does. There are more tutorials that are labeled for expansion and other things that will come later. But for right now, I'm going to go through and build this warehouse in the middle of the woods, and that's the last time I'm going to look at it in this version of the video. After that, we're going to go through and we're going to establish a village. And from what I can tell, villages are kind of where everybody lives, and not necessarily works. This is kind of an area where people just kind of live at and do minor things. But as far as working and traveling to different places, we're going to need trains for that, which is totally cool because trains are the only version of transportation in this thing. So building a village is real easy. You select your village building. You can click, hold, and drag to select over where you want it to go, or you can add individual ones, but clicking and dragging is way easier. So you put it in there, and before you can do anything else, you need to go on and add a road, and these roads are going to basically allow your villagers to walk around and get into all the different places of the village. Everything I played beautifully for me during the time I got to do this, which was roughly about a half hour or so. But I ran into this part here where I could not progress to the next part, where it wanted me to hover over a service icon. No matter what I did, I could not figure it out. I had to go hover over every little thing until I eventually got it, and then I was able to move forward. One thing I would really like out of this tutorial is some better indications if you're spending too long on a particular topic or item, like hovering over something, that there's some more visual indications. There's a couple of areas where it kind of will darken in or zoom in or kind of give you a little light area of where you're supposed to go, but it's not super obvious. And with all the panels that pop up and all the things that are going on there, I'd really like there to be just a little bit more. So at this point, we go through and we have to provide food for the people that live here. So we're going to add on a fishing dock, which is not a big deal. And then we're going to provide some storage for them as well, which it's cool that we have this, but I'd really like if the buildings auto-rotated to the way they're supposed to be. It took me a little while to just kind of go through. I probably could have just read the instructions and known that, hey, you're probably going to have to rotate this building. But instead, I was trying to get it to line up with the blueprint that's kind of there, and it didn't work for me. So I would have really liked that it just kind of auto-rotates or just did its thing. But once I was not an idiot and read the instructions, it's not a big deal to get it to go where you want it to go. At this point, we're alerted that, hey, all these people, this 185 people, are not going to be able to live off of just one wharf and a storage area. So we have to go through and we're going to now go and upgrade trains, because train tracks automatically appear out of nowhere, which I wish they were here a little earlier so we could just pay attention to them and know that this is a transportation game. But whatevs, we have our train here. We have to go through and add some platforms on so the trains have not only a station to stop at, but have some area where we can offload and do some things. So we're going to go in and just click, hold, and drag and add on our station areas and our platforms so that we can fit larger and larger trains, I think. This is about the time that we start figuring out that people don't really like our town because there's a dock where people fish, and apparently fish are dirty and are going to cause people not to want to go through, or it's going to smell or something. There's some story that goes along with it, and essentially we have to decorate our town with some spruce trees, which are our only option. One note here is that you see these little green icons that pop up everywhere we go. That's not green because they're trees or anything like that. Essentially, they are treated as buildings, and down the road here, you're not going to be able to build roads, buildings, or anything else through what you put here. So if you're playing this game, just be careful where you place your stuff. But you'll see that this little star rating, I'm at negative 0.01 right now. It will go up to be in the positive, or at least at 0. And essentially, you have to have that star grow or be positive in order to grow your town. And just taking a look here, we can go on and add some markets. These are apparently areas where people can exchange services and do things. You can rotate them, but you see the little blue, which allows you to know that they access different areas. For whatever reason, that one didn't work. Even though everything's blue, it didn't work. So I added another one onto the other side of town, rotated it to make it look nicer, and my market is built. You can see my first train is arriving here, which is great. And we need to grow our population to 400. So we have a little rail network set up. The trains are moving around. I don't know where they're going or what they're doing, but we have them. So let's go ahead and take a look at places that we can do things with. There's also these little icons with the trees. Those little icons, I think, are just there to signify that these are ones that you planted, not ones that are there in the game. So they're treated as buildings. So at this point, I'm going to go through and add on some more roads and then some more infrastructure as far as buildings, because our town population is at 300 right now. We need to get it up to 400, so I'm guessing we need some more buildings to go through and actually get it to expand to be 400. After adding on many more buildings and a few more water towers to satisfy those buildings, my town's not growing. It's shrinking, or really just not growing much at all, so I thought the next step would be to add on some more fish docks. I even added some storage because I don't know why. I just thought maybe that was necessary. Maybe these things go together. They don't. They don't seem to be linked really much at all. But I tried it. I spent a few more minutes just looking around my town, trying to figure out why it wasn't growing, because I had lost population at this point. So I just clicked around buildings, trying to make sure that all of their needs were met, which they're not. But that's not important because I don't know how to do that yet. And I took a look at trains, trying to figure out what was going on. And quickly I realized that, hey, my town needs some decoration, because why would anybody move to an ugly town in the middle of the woods? We want to move to a beautiful town in the middle of the woods. So when we click on here, we can see that my star rating, which is the one in the middle, is -1.3. That can't happen. We need to make it beautiful. So we're going to go in and make sure that we add on some trees in an already surrounded forest to go through and add this. I don't fully understand this part of the game right now. Maybe that will make more sense to me later. But essentially, the idea that all I have to do is plant some trees in a forest that already exists will increase the desirability. Works in some way, but I'd like to see some other type of decoration other than trees, because I'm planting trees like crazy, and my population has already increased by about 30 people just by planting some trees in areas that already had trees. Yeah, that area just needs to be worked on a little bit. I think the general idea is fine, but I just want to see something other than trees, replacing trees and equaling beauty. But this is a quick look at Sweet Transit. I really like this game. I'm going to play more and see what it has.